Don't be fooled by her beauty, because what you're looking at is the most evil and cruel princess in all of anime. She's Ira von Tarantara, sole ruler of the kingdom of clapping. She wiped out her entire family just like my boy Itachi. The difference is she did it just to rule the world. All of her subjects are scared of her, so no one dares to stop her tyranny, but we all know how that usually ends up. Anyway, she's destroyed the lives of too many people, and to top it all off, she's also a supreme sussy baka. Luckily, there's only one Chad that can save the world and alter the kingdom's destiny, who goes by the name Theo Gospel. Now here's the catch: Theo was supposed to be an evil bishop, but some poor Korean lad named Lee got reincarnated into this world after getting hit by truck-kun, and now he's taken over the life of Theo. So it's been a year since he landed in this brand new world, and Theo has quickly risen up the royal ranks to become Ira's most trusted advisor. Today he's trying to convince Ira to not destroy a rebellious Lord Belmort, since he knows if she does so, his and her life will be over soon enough, as he knows how this story plays out, because this world is a replica of a novel he used to love. Regardless, old man Belfort gets to live another day thanks to Theo trying to change the ending, and bro has something else up his sleeve. Turns out, Belfort's daughter Clara got captured by Theo's men the day before, allowing him to have the upper hand to make sure Belfort does not attempt any funny business while sentenced to life in captivity within the castle walls. But Theo might be a little sus, because as you can tell, it looks like Clara got some advanced invisible clothes, and don't think that attire is the norm in this kingdom. Nonetheless, Belfort's face go pale after seeing that Theo's trump card is his own daughter, causing Theo to chuckle inside, knowing that he's the real power behind every royal decision. Suddenly, Era claps her hands in applause of Theo, making him snap back to reality, but the clapping might be foreshadowing something in the very near future. Mere seconds later, a menacing aura surrounds the evil queen, and the first things out of her mouth is her asking Theo if his plan was to make Clara get rice cake destroyed by her father in front of everyone. Bro then takes a moment to really analyze what Ira just said, because me personally, I did not expect her to say that either, so she really do be an evil sussy queen. Anyways, bro is left speechless and unable to fathom what Ira got in her head, because things escalated straight from 69 all the way to over 9,000 in just seconds. To make matters worse, she said it with so much confidence that everyone in the royal throne room heard her, causing all of them to instantly think of plans on how to overthrow her rule, because she ain't it, chief. Nonetheless, her eyes begin glowing red like a demon lord, so Theo facepalms, knowing he needs to be quick-witted or it's already game over today. As such, Theo activates simp mode and heads for the queen, claiming that he has another very humble plan for Clara instead of very suspect father-daughter activities. After sneaking some compliments here and there, he's able to convince Queen Ira to make Clara a maid of the palace instead of forcing her to grab some milk from a very unwanting Belfort, so it's all a win-win scenario. Now that he's saved both his life and Ira from the entire country rebelling against them, Clara sheds some tears in front of Theo and curses him for his entire life. But if I was her, I'd rather be a maid than drink a milkshake by her dad. Fast forward an hour later, we discover Theo still by Ira's side, but she informs him to cancel every scheduled plan for the rest of the day because she feels too tired after trying to end the entire family bloodline of a noble house. She then turns around and whispers to our boy that tonight she's going to reward him for his deeds and for always being by her side no matter what. Unfortunately for Theo though, it looks like he already knows what the reward will be, and he doesn't look too happy that the Sussy Fire Nation is about to invade his life once again. As the Queen's most trusted advisor, we discover that Bro gets the job of being the one that helps her out when she wants to freshen up by being a bath boy. To help her out, Theo gets summoned right in front of her, but she's totally exposed like Jack Doherty and lets him see the entirety of her twin statues of liberty, and let's just say she do be having some large G-yats. Bro then stares way too long when it's not like this is the first time he's ever seen those puppies before, so Ira blushes uncontrollably whilst his lightning rod gets ready to strike from down under. But the turntables turn when Theo is given his reward, which turns out to be just him being able to help clean with the Queen. So it seems he doesn't get to use his banana tree. Unable to turn his lightning rod into a battering ram built for the Queen, he just stands there and scrubs the targeted areas to leave Ira squeaky clean. After completing his lame mission, she flashes him a look and orders Theo it's time for phase 2 of the reward, where he must eat her vanilla ice cream cone on the spot. Theo sighs knowing that he doesn't get anything in return, and this isn't something he would call a reward because it's a one-way street, but he just nods and does as what the Queen wants. So with the Queen enjoying his reward, Theo is busy thinking to himself how much he hates her, and she's just lucky he hasn't finished his plan of taming every princess in this world to do his bidding, including her. Regardless, with Ira sounding like a broken record that continually repeats the same sussy sounds over and over again, Theo gets visibly frustrated that he can't properly use his pepperoni to pork out on the Queen. But since he wants to keep his head, Theo tries his best to always make sure she hits her climax of the mountain, but rest be assured, he's going to rule the world very soon. To do so, Theo plans to make Ira fall in love with his sussy skills, even though he hasn't gotten to unleash his banana sword on her dumpy to deliver the finishing blow, but for now he can use his Spider-Man skills to full effectiveness. Nonetheless, Theo continues to accept his reward graciously, so he's able to make Ira succumb to defeat twice with the use of only his fingertips, so just imagine what Bro can do when he unleashes the real weapon he's been hiding. Now that Ira got defeated twice in a row by Theo, she happily tells him he can make his leave as she's going to finish cleaning up by herself. After drying up like dried mangoes, she calls a sleepy Theo to help her brush her hair so it looks like he's the one that's being tamed right now, because this isn't what a normal royal advisor would do for their queen. However, as he brushes her hair to her liking, Theo takes this prime opportunity to privately ask her for a favor and jokes on us. The favor has nothing to do with being a sussy baka. It's then revealed with Ira's fury that he tried to convince her to add another advisor, but she took it the wrong way, making it seem like Theo wants to quit being her only trusted advisor. Upon seeing her look like she's about to rip him a new one, he retracts everything he said, even though the only thing he asked for was an assistant because he can't handle everything she keeps asking him to do by himself. Now that it's clear she wants no one other than him by her side, Ira quickly drops a bomb on Theo and mentions how the royal expedition is returning tomorrow. Fast forward the next morning, Theo didn't have enough time to prepare for the expedition suddenly returning, so he tries his best to keep his composure, knowing full well that his life is on the line if things unexpectedly escalate. But much to his horror, the royal council gets interrupted by a female knight from the expedition who's still in full armor with battle axe in hand, so it looks like trouble has found its way in. Sure enough, the crimson-haired warrior swiftly sent one of the lords of the council to the afterlife with one simple slice without saying anything. After breaking rules of royal conduct without any care in the world, she removes her helmet, where we learn that she's Elda von Lioness, or should I say Elda von Batty, cousin to Ira and one of the princesses of the top noble houses. Eventually, Theo steps in and begrudgingly asks Elba to sheath her weapon, but big props to our boy, since I wouldn't want to speak up to someone that just came out of nowhere and clapped a council member without anyone stopping her. Unfortunately for Theo though, Elda feels insulted that someone just tried to tell her what to do, so she whips out her giant battle axe again and aims right at him. But right before she's able to make Theo reincarnate to another world, Ira steps in and orders her to stop what she's doing, but Elba just plays it off like it was just a prank, bro. Fast forward to the evening, we find Theo looking like he's hating life because he's stuck at a banquet dedicated to Elga, and he happens to be the only dude there. Usually you'd be super happy if you found yourself stuck in a room full of girls and you're the only guy there. But it turns out all the girls here do not prefer boys, so he's stuck in an unlucky situation. To make his evening more worse, Elga ganks him out of nowhere and singles him out the entire time, so he's stuck doing what Elga wishes unless he wants to feel the wrath of the crimson blonde princess. After being forced to drink the entire night by Elga, the two make it to the courtyard, where she continues to pester him and make fun of him for not being able to hold it in. However, the turntables turn when Elba changes the conversation and asks if the rumors of him having a special relationship with the queen are true. Theo then pulls out an Oscar-worthy performance by making it look like he can't believe Elga would ask such a thing, so he vehemently denies it in front of Elga and turns around on her. Bro then makes a good point to her that if he were to have a special relationship with Ira, then there's no way she would still be on the throne. After being reassured that he's not been secretly sticking a banana tree deep inside Ira's castle walls, the sussy turntables turn when Elga whispers to him that it's just the two of them right now. She then tries to remind him of their good old times, hinting to the fact that these two have had a special bond before, so she orders him to go along with her request, making him look scared in the process. With Theo again speechless, he says nothing, but Elba keeps yapping and ends up telling him to close his eyes as she's about to reward him for apparently advising her dear cousin Ira very well. Turns out, the only reason Theo looks scared is because he used to be a slave part of the lioness family, so he's afraid that this surprise might actually be torture, so he braces for impact. But much to his surprise, the only torture he's going to feel is his lightsaber wanting to burst out of his pants, since Elda ganks him with a kiss, which isn't something that usually happens in the novel. Mere seconds later, Theo pulls off a big brain move and activates his sussy jutsu by returning the favor, so he directly attacks her twin pyramids of Giza while swapping personal liquids like no tomorrow. However, things got too spicy for the princess of the lioness family, so she pulls back like how I like my pulled pork and stumbles upon her words, not expecting Theo to suddenly become a Chad out of nowhere. She then begins blushing profusely, so she has to look away to prevent Theo from seeing. But then she orders him to never do something unexpected ever again unless he likes pineapple on his pizza like a true cultured person. To save her from embarrassment, she quickly changes the mood by whipping out a piece of an emblem and asks Theo if he knows anything about it since she got it from one of the savages she destroyed with one fell swoop. After taking a closer look at it, he realizes that the emblem looks like very elaborate handiwork, but he can't really tell what it is since it's been damaged a lot, so he tells Elga he will try his best to find out what it really is. Fast forward to the middle of the night, Theo finds himself alone in his secret room within his quarters that contains a special scroll outlining everything that happens in the novel, since he wrote all down to make sure he doesn't forget. Funnily enough, after writing everything you remember on the scroll, he forgot all the details a few days later, so it's a godsend he didn't procrastinate, or else his fate would have been totally different. The next thing that's coming up in this timeline is the hero's appearance, but since he was able to stop Ira from being too tyrannical, he's altered the timeline. As such, he heads to bed trying to catch some Z's, but he knows full well that Theo is destined to get destroyed in the novel, so he's planning to make sure he can live as long as he can. The next morning, Bro gets awakened by Ira, who wants to bring him to go see the peasants in town, but he's totally frustrated because today is his day off, but she doesn't care at all. Nevertheless, Theo accompanies her to go visit a pub since she's heard rumors that a fairy works there, and since she's never seen one in person before, she's super excited to see what they are like. Soon enough, a waitress approaches them to grab their order, but instead of grabbing some food, Ira pulls out a gold coin from her sleeve to entice her to bring out the so-called fairy. The waitress freaks out at the gold coin tip because that's equivalent to like 1 billion Robux, causing Theo to warn Ira to calm down because now everyone is looking at them wondering who they are. Eventually, the busy fairy comes out, who we discover happens to be the owner of the tavern, allowing Ira to finally get her fix of seeing a fairy face to face. However, as Ira happily plays around the existence of the fairy, owner shifts her gaze towards Theo and casually tells him that his mere presence is very bothersome due to his bloodline. Unsure of what she truly meant, Bro just shrugs it off, and next thing he knows, a couple hours has passed by and now he's got to take care of the queen once again since she drank too much at the tavern. After Ira gets placed to rest on his bed, she pulls him close and orders him not to leave her, spilling the beans that she just wants to sleep together tonight. Mere seconds later, after Theo blinks once, he realizes that the queen was able to effortlessly remove every part of her armor without his help, where she then proceeded to motion to him to come close. Upon getting close, she orders him to remove everything ASAP. With no other choice, he follows the orders of his queen, but much to his surprise, she invokes Article 69, allowing her to quickly grab his banana lightsaber. Now, to make it clear, at this point Ira has never really dealt with someone's lightning rod, so her curiosity gets the better of her, causing her to just eat up the entire Italian sausage. The swallowing sound is now music to Theo's ears, so he almost cries, unable to believe that it actually happened, that Ira actually returned the favor, so he never thought he would still be alive when that day came. Unsure of what to do next, Theo makes the foolish mistake of telling Ira to stop what she's doing, but this causes her to take it personally, like Mamba mentality, because no one ever orders her what to do. It's over now for Theo since the queen abruptly stops returning the favor. Instead, she stares directly into his soul and proceeds to skill gap him by grabbing his lightsaber with both hands, and informs him that she will only let go if he answers her questions truthfully. First, she asked about his past life and how he ended up part of the lioness family as a slave, because she doesn't really know him that well, even though he knows everything about her. Now, literally stuck in a sticky situation, he tells her a sob story that he was taken in by the church since he was an orphan when he was a child, hence the last name Gospel, but he ended up getting sold to the lioness family later on. After telling her his entire life story before she was able to buy him out, Ira lets go of his Prince Behemoth and successfully baits him, but Brogue is worried when she spreads her wings right in front of him. In an instant, Theo's chili hot dog surpasses levels he never thought was possible after seeing the royal flaps on the bird, so Ira tells him she's going to give him a reward for telling the truth. So the reward is the dumbest thing I've ever heard, where Ira makes a circle with her fingertips as a replacement for her real papayas, and she even orders him to do it as fast as possible. Basically, instead of an air guitar, Bro has to deal with an air flappy bird, and there's nothing he can do about it as it's orders from his own queen. To make matters worse, Ira is enjoying the entire ordeal without him actually getting to smash her real rice cakes, so I do feel really bad for our boy. Now stuck destroying Ira's fingers in the shape of a circle, he does it for about a minute before he began pleading with her to let him stop, as this is way too low even for someone as down bad as Theo. Unfortunately for him, he should have known not to expose his true weakness to Ira, so she refuses to let him stop since she's more of a menace than Caitlyn Jenner. Shigen tells him that if he attempts to stop before exploding his volcano, then she's going to punish him ruthlessly. So if this isn't punishment enough, then I don't know what else she got under her sleeve. However, after hearing that she doesn't want him to stop his sussy advance with a fake papaya, Bro somewhat gets excited, so it's basically Jover for this loser. A few seconds later, we find Theo squinting with one eye, so you already know his Mount St. Helens exploded liquefied snow all over the evil queen, and he even starts thinking to himself that the experience was actually pretty good. Now that we lost brother Theo to some extra weird Sussy Nation attack, Ira takes a moment to smell and look at the fresh vanilla milkshake her royal advisor gave her, as this is the first time she's ever experienced such a thing. She investigates even further, so she decides to recruit her taste buds to have a better understanding of what she's dealing with, but then she suddenly informs Theo there is nothing he can ever do that would make her punish him with death. So I guess bro got that tasty vanilla protein Reese, because I couldn't even tell if that was Ira trying to be romantic. Anyways, now that Theo witnessed Ira use her taste buds to better connect with him, he takes this as a positive sign for him to finally ask her a simple request he's had on his mind for a very long time. As such, bro takes a deep breath and proceeds to ask her if she would allow him to quit being by her side, as he doesn't want to be a royal advisor to the queen any longer. With the words directly coming out of his mouth, he makes a major mistake in asking such a treacherous question, which lands him straight into the back rooms of Roblox and into the darkest prison within the castle walls. He's even chained to the ground with a massive 200-pound concrete ball, so it's too bad bro only got the brains when he got reincarnated here instead of real power. As he contemplates on what to do with his life, he gets ganked by a mysterious figure who's lurking in the shadows, but he can tell that the hidden person is a girl due to their bombastic figure. After walking into the light, we discover that the girl happens to be Elda, but she quickly begins to laugh at Theo, while showing off the very tippy top of her twin pyramids of Giza, signaling that the cells might be a little bit cold. She continues to laugh until she runs out of breath, unable to believe that the queen's most trusted advisor got left to fend for himself all of a sudden. But the Sussy Nation attacks Theo, making him not mind Elga laughing at him the entire time, since he's too busy being distracted by Elga's figure, as he can't help himself but stare under her plate skirts as she sloth squats. Luckily for him though, Elga actually came to his rescue, and since she's the oldest daughter of the lioness family, Elga granted her request to take him back home. With his plans of taming the queen now derailed, Theo looks super disappointed, since he felt like he was super close to being able to use his battering ram to destroy her city gates and not a fake one. Nevertheless, Elda tries to cheer him up, and while stuck inside the royal carriage, she asks him the truth about why Ira banished him, since rumors have been spreading that the reason he got kicked out is because he played too much Blox Fruits. After pestering Theo some more, he ends up spilling the beans and informs her that the real reason he got banished from the castle is because he tried to quit his job and Ira was not having any of it. Upon learning the real reason, Elda gets confused, since she knows her cousin, and there's no way she would jeopardize her relationship with her most trusted advisor over such a trivial thing. Unbeknownst to her though, Theo planned to get banished by Ira, as he knew Elda would come knocking, and he's planning to pull off some Game of Thrones style moves, and to do that he must visit House Lioness. Suddenly, the turntables turn, so Elda stands up and tells him that it's her turn to punish him now for disrespecting her bloodline. Unsure of what the punishment could be, Theo closes his eyes because Elda forces him to, but deep down, we all know he's hoping that she's going to transform into a sussy baka instead of her actually penalizing him. Mere seconds later, bro starts feeling a 5-finger discount near his banana tree, so just as he hoped, she transformed and became one with the sussy Autobots. Soon enough, the author adds blush on Elda's face, so you know things are about to get serious, since she ends up moving her hands right on top of Theo's bulging Titanic, whilst telling him that this is going to be a special punishment. Although they expected her to do something along the lines of being a sussy Becca, Theo didn't expect her to outright remove his diamond-plated pants while still on the journey home, since anyone can catch them at any time. But before Theo could say anything to stop Elda, she reassures him that they won't get caught because this is an exclusive royal carriage and no one will dare to peek inside unless told to. Honestly, I'm all for Theo to finally relieve his banana tree plantation after his weird encounters with the queen, since he basically deserves getting to tame the princess of House Lioness. Nonetheless, Elda goes crazy in this action scene to make sure Theo remembers the good old times, as it's revealed that the first time he experienced his Italian salami being wrapped with something else was with Elda back when he was still part of her family. Suddenly, something clicks inside Theo's head which activates his sussy skills, causing him to take charge of the situation like a Chad, so he starts hearing Elda fight for air when he takes things up a notch. After seeing Theo in a different light, Elda pulls away looking like she just found out what makes her life exciting again, so she asks him what he's trying to do. Clearly, if she tries and starts Theo's Tesla in the middle of nowhere, he's going to use that charged-up Tesla to make sure she knows what's it like to ride electric using his advanced lightning rod. As such, Theo brings Elda close and whispers to her that whatever happens in a royal carriage stays in the royal carriage, so she better be ready for him to repay her favor. 2 seconds later, Thea rips apart her defensive armor, making her rocky mountains come flying out like very firm jello, so it looks like it's finally time for a real 1-versus-1 duel between the two. Now that her impressive bags of lactose-free milk are out in the open like the bald eagle, she looks Thea right in his eyes and asks him what the heck happened to him, because he's never been like this ever before, even back then. Turns out, Theo has been spending a lot of time paying attention to his math classes, since everything he's done up to this point have all been very calculated moves to make sure he survives as long as he can in this world. And since Elda is one of the highest-ranking nobles in the entire kingdom, he plans to tame every princess, as he's going to catch them all like Ash Ketchum. But first, he must succeed with his current target. It looks like it's easy enough though, as it looks like he got to buy an operator on round 1 whilst everyone else had a pistol, since Elda is the first person he ever got to really know in this world. Now the crazy part in all of this is that the Crimson Blonde Lioness continually emits a super loud battle cry as Theo ramps up his SUSSY jutsu, but for some reason, no one can hear them, even though this is the age before soundproofing. Regardless, Theo quickly amps up his advances, and before he gets to whip out his Beyblades, he tells Elga that she can tell him to stop his attack at any time, but all she does is look to the side, before telling him to keep on going. Now that he knows the road is clear to her paved city gates, he activates some more Wizard of Oz skills to make sure her affinity towards him have surpassed her limits, so there can no longer be any turning back if things get too heated. Eventually, he makes his way towards the large G-Yats in front of him and proceeds to slam the Dumpy into position, where he then combos his attack by telling Elga that even though he's stuck in the palace now, he will always be hers first and foremost no matter what happens. Elga then transforms into an Alice look-alike from Sword Art Online after she closes her eyes, unable to handle the intense force coming from Theo's taste buds, so she looks like she's about to pass out even though his banana tree has not yet joined the battle. Nevertheless, Theo is able to make Elga cross the finish line once during their duel, so she's already stuck hook, line, and sinker, because she ends up asking him to please send his dark lightsaber her way. After asking him to show her how it's properly done, hearts begin appearing on her eyes, so it looks like it's finally time for Theo to actually get rewarded after a long-lasting battle of him unable to whip out the banana sword. With an unamused look, he tells her that it seems like she's ready and fully prepared for his spicy sausage, so Thea readies to unclog the blockage with the biggest spirit bomb she will ever experience. Bro even goes as far as to announce that his battering ram is about to enter her royal highness, but Elba tells him to hurry up since she ain't waiting till she turns into a grandma. So to appease the princess, Theo abides by her demands and quickly engages his rocket boosters, which instantly gets Elba's spaceship going, so all you can see and hear are all French love languages. After finally getting rewarded, Theo lets all hell loose, as it's been over a year since he's entered the promised land, but it looks like he's trying too hard to be like his idol, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Now that he's cosplaying The Rock thanks to his banana tree going ham, he continues to raise the SUSSY levels over 9,000 by grabbing Elda like she's some sort of royal handlebar. Nonetheless, Elda orders him to never stop due to how amazing rice cake smashing is, so she tries her best to make sure she doesn't pass out from the sheer gravitational force his siege equipment is causing on her royal spaceship. Luckily for her, Ro put all his points in stamina to max out his levels, so Thea looks at her and smiles while telling her to not worry because he's barely even started the invasion. As such, Theo activates his One Piece Gear 4th mode, allowing his special attack he nicknamed the Sussy Python to absolutely obliterate any foe it may come up against, and today, that rival happens to be none other than Princess Elga. It's show over now for the princess since he starts barraging her, with moves like the Gomu Gomu no Sussy Master, which causes her water levels to leak faster than a sinking submarine, so I hope the castle maids are ready to clean up. With Elva now looking like her life force got fully depleted by all the crazy moves, Theo actually takes the time to loudly announce he's going to change positions, as he's going to show her why he wants to be the Sussy King. After completing his worldly mid lane to solo top lane swap, hearts began encompassing not only Elga, but also the entire room, so it looks like it's her turn to get reincarnated into another world, brought to you by the Sus Kings. Eventually, an entire word wrap filled the screen, so basically you have to imagine Theo refilling the entirety of her unlimited free vanilla milkshake cup, and it came gushing out like the Fruit Gushers. Now that the two completed their amazing duel, Elga ends up looking like she got hit by an earthquake, while Theo looks like he doesn't have Gospel as his last name anymore. They then take a moment to recoup some of their lost energy, and after garnering the ability to move again, Elba turns back around and shyly asks our boy if there's a possibility of a second duel, as she would greatly appreciate it. Unfortunately for her though, the turntable turns due to Theo just looking at her without saying anything, almost trying too hard to look like he's playing hard to get, but in reality he's calculating all the possible futures if he goes for round 2. After 2 minutes of awkward silence and after some air farts, Blood snaps back to reality and flashes a smirk. So now I am convinced this dude is somehow going to have some kind of demon blood within him, as he's looking like a true menace. He then informs her that although the royal carriage is bound to stop very soon, she needs to make sure she can compose herself when the doors open, as it's time for a quick 1-versus-1 duel. Fast forward to their arrival at Castle Lioness. Elba gets greeted by her butler, looking like Alfred from Batman, and some maid with pretty large G-yachts. But before the old man can even ask her how her journey back home was, Elba totally ignores the two and quickly rushes past them, while holding both ends of the badonkadonks in, as she doesn't want them to notice some mysterious leakage. Her eyes then disappear, so she makes an excuse to Mr. Alfred that she feels exhausted after the long trip, and I don't blame her since she got to experience firsthand the amazing Blue Eyes White Dragon. Anyways, with Elda rushing in and leaving our boy to fend for himself, the butler turns his attention to Theo, but he doesn't look even somewhat amused at his long-lost return. It's then revealed that it's been 3 years since the two last met after the Queen ended up buying him for no reason at all, but Alfred wants no small talk right now, so he swiftly does his job and shows him his guest room. He also informs him that before he forgets, his master, head of the Lioness family, wishes to see him, as it looks like he's got urgent business to discuss. After getting his belongings situated within his new room, he's forced to meet with the head of the family, but it looks like he's got something going on. Upon the door swinging open, Ro gets met with a purple-haired girl getting utterly destroyed. Even with the butler and Theo now in the room, he continues to clap the purple-haired girl endlessly as if she's an oasis and he's found the fountain of youth. Eventually, the girl collapses to the ground when the father of Elba sprouts his beans inside her garden, where he then orders her to leave the room as fast as possible without caring about her feelings. But since this girl is not his wife or even his girlfriend, all she can do is abide by his requests like a Nickelodeon star from back in the day, so she goes as he wishes. After grabbing her clothes from the corner of the room, we discover that Perpy happens to be a random maid of the castle, so she quickly runs off into the sunset, hoping for the Oilers to get past the first round. On her way out, she passes by our boy, who bows before her, but the two say nothing to each other, and I wouldn't either, but for some reason, Theo looks unfazed at all, so he might actually be part of the SUSSY face clan. With the girl now gone, Theo steps forward and introduces himself, where we learn that Elba's father is the Marquis of Angmar, and his name happens to be Reinhardt, like the tank in Overwatch, and that's pretty funny because he does look like him. However, as Theo continues formally introducing himself, Reinhardt cuts him off mid-sentence and tells him to stop being so stuck up like the mean girls, and proceeds to tell him to sit down so they can go straight to business. Accepting his request to cut off the meaningless chit-chat, Theo drops the Nagasaki on him and informs him that by the power of the sole ruler of the kingdom, he's relieved all of his duties as royal inspector. Now shocked to his core, the fierce Reinhardt slams the table in front of him and tells him that it's impossible, as fury builds up within him, claiming that not even Ira has the power to do that unless she wants to invoke a rebellion against her. With the Duke now off his rails, Theo stands his ground and alerts him that he's just Ira's messenger, so please don't get it all in his pants. But regardless, bro ends up catching strays left and right from the Duke. His aura then begins to engulf him, and as he closes the gap and gets closer and closer like it's Theo's final destination, our boy doesn't dare attempt to blink, since his life force could instantly go to 0 at any second. Reinhardt then locks in the DPS role instead of tank, so it looks like it's Joe over for us, so Theo closes his eyes as it looks like he's about ready to go back to his real world. But right before the Duke could go Elden Ring on his head, Theo uses the voice from Dune and orders him to replace Sir Fargus to become the new Prime Minister of the kingdom, which totally confuses the Duke. So basically, Reinhardt got baited into thinking he got stripped of all his powers within the kingdom. But in actuality, he just got promoted to the second highest rank, right behind being the king or queen of the kingdom. It's then revealed that our boy is trying to be like Littlefinger, using the queen to advance his plans, as it was actually his idea to replace Sir Fargus, as he knows Reinhardt would be loyal and he can use him as an omen smoke if anything ever hits the fan. Theo closes the deal by informing him that both him and the queen will have a prolonged leave, so he wishes for him to protect the kingdom while they are gone, since apparently Ira will be entering the academy. After hearing that the queen plans to enter the academy, Reinhardt begins hysterically laughing to the point he almost passes out, so we now know where Elba got her crazy genes from, since he's unable to believe Ira would ever let someone educate her. Nonetheless, Theo insists that the queen will actually attend the academy whether he chooses to believe it or not, and he even goes as far as to place his being heart on the line so if she doesn't show up, then Reinhardt can take his life whenever he chooses. Still not convinced Ira would actually do such a thing. Reinhardt accepts the offer anyways, but he gets a little bit suspicious of our boy, thinking that surely Theo might be up to something. With Theo successfully getting the Duke to sign on, Bro heads out the room where it's revealed within the book that when Ira got clapped by the peasants, it was the Duke who took over the kingdom, so he's just fast-tracking things. A flashback then occurs to when it was just him and Ira alone at the royal throne room, where the queen was busy contemplating on who to replace Sir Fargus with, so Theo told her to pick Duke Reinhardt as he has a large army and very battle-hardened like Tom Cruise. Back to the present, Theo looks unsatisfied with how things turned out even though everything went according to his plans, worried what the future may hold since Ira still lives under his watch. As he continues trotting along busy in his thoughts, he gets ganked by Ira, but it seems like her personalities have grown even more even though it's been half a day. Just kidding, it's actually Elda looking like she's about to join a twerking contest right in front of our boy Theo, so the Sussy Nation looks like it's about to invade very soon. After noticing Elda's very peculiar pose, Theo's blood rushes down to his dragon longsword, so he flashes a smile and asks the princess of this house if they can go talk in a quieter place. Elda instantly blushes, looking like she underwent the Asian flush, knowing full well that a quieter place is code word for Netflix and chill in fantasy medieval times, unable to believe the gall of Theo. Fast forward 2 seconds later, Elda finds herself stuck in her armory room with Theo, so the first thing she does is to flash the twin pyramids of Giza right at our boy. However, the Sussy turntables turn when Elga orders Theo to apologize for the way he looked at her earlier, even though we all know it was her fault from the beginning. Unfortunately for her, Theo ain't no pushover, so he just stands there menacingly, causing Elda to pump fake him with a fake slash, acting like she was about to pull a Mexican cartel move on him, with no one being able to hear them. Upon learning that no one can hear them, Theo finally opens his mouth and repeats the same words that Elga said, asking her if it's true no one else can actually hear them outside. 1 second later, our boy makes his move and Gap closes the distance with smooth, silky moves like Prime Spider-Man, easily taking quite a hold of Elga before she was even able to blink. Theo then went for the very non-sussy yet romantic CPR, where the only thing Elga could mutter is his name, Theo, whilst looking like she never expected anything like this to happen. With the open mouth to open mouth combat now taking place, their duel takes a level up when the princess finds herself on the ground urgently wanting Theo to cross boundaries between their kingdoms. Eventually, she's able to muster some words and says the same thing that my ex used to always say, claiming she doesn't know what the heck Theo is doing even though her actions say differently. As such, all of the armor and the princess had came flying off into the far distance of the armory, where Theo then proceeded to look like he's about to become the first gentleman of Elga's life as he readies to eat his favorite meal. Personally, I love Raising Cane's, but this man's is a real man, as he went straight for the Slurpee juice from 7-Eleven, causing Elba to find what it feels like to enter her spiritual mode, ready to burst her ultimate move as soon as possible. For the next half hour, the only thing you can hear is Theo's name being repeatedly said out loud, so there might be a glitch in the Matrix, until Elda finally asked Theo if he hasn't told anyone of their mischievous actions. Of course, Theo would never want this secret to be unveiled, or else he knows his head will come off faster than he could think. So he flips over Elda and informs her that their secret is totally safe with him. Suddenly, just when Elda thought they couldn't escalate the difficulty anymore, Bro activates his Gomu Gomu no Mi technique, sending Elda's soul straight to the unknown. With Theo's third gear now activated without even using his patented blue eyes white dragon attack, Elda begins shooting unlimited heart eyes towards our boy, so it looks like she's about to cross the finish line. And so Elda finally finishes the race at the Sussy Olympics, causing a massive water leak to occur while leaving Elda outright crumbling from the intense force of the earthquakes she's currently experiencing. With the job clearly well done, our boy wipes away the mythical gravity fruit taste from his face, while probably thinking to himself that this was all in a day's work. So no problem, Princess Elda. She then realizes what happened to his face, so Elga attempts to apologize profusely for the accidental waterfall move, as she didn't even know that was a hidden ability she just awakened, but Theo tells her to not worry as it's simply normal with him. With such tremendous mukbang riz emanating from Theo, Elda quickly tries to pay back all the rewards she's experienced from our boy, so she tries to start up a quest that ends with Theo's banana tree being discovered once again. And just like that, the bottom pieces of Theo's armor instantly vanish down to the ankles of the Queen's advisor, almost as if a ghost was there to remove all the buttons to assist a princess of the realm with ease. With the quest completing, allowing Elda to witness the dragon longsword of Theo again, the two embark on another quest. but this time it requires the swordsmanship of Theo to utterly destroy the protected crevice of Elda. And so the rest was basically history when Elda began beaming her eyes towards Theo again. So it's a good thing this armory is soundproof, or else it might have sounded like an opera. However, just when the two were in the middle of intense rice cake smashing, the butler arrived outside. Upon hearing the triple knock outside the armory door, the two instantly freeze, but Elda can feel Theo's diamond sword pulsate on its own as if it was a sentient being that's currently being squeezed by gigantic stretchy walls surrounding it. Unfortunately, just when they thought the coast was clear, Theo pulls a King Arthur type of beat by unmounting the sword stuck within Elda's rock, causing her to accidentally make a sound alerting the butler to double check if he heard something. Shortly after the butler turned back around to check on the armory, his steps echoed throughout the entire palace, whilst yelling out loud to Elga, asking if the lady is behind the door. With the footsteps getting closer by the second, both quiver at the thought of getting caught since they hate playing Roblox backrooms, so Theo silences any future accidental sounds from Elda by using his special full-hand jutsu. Nevertheless, the butler makes his way back right outside the armory door, where he loudly whispers if there's anyone in there whilst refusing to move a single inch, as if he's got the power to petrify anyone at will. After 1 minute has passed, the butler hears nothing, not even the wind, so he continues to stand there and stare at the wall, looking like he's got a suspicious feeling that he's felt heat waves come from behind the door. Eventually, the butler whips out a bunch of keys while saying out loud that he thinks it's strange no one is answering back, even though he thought he for sure heard some kind of sound from within the door. I mean, to be fair, the armory is supposedly soundproof, so if he heard something, this butler probably got some kind of super hearing, so he ends up finding the correct key to unlock the armory with ease. Upon squinting the door wide open, the butler's suspicions were proven to be correct, as he gets shocked to see Miss Elda just standing there staring at him. Luckily, the butler finds both of them with their full suits of armor back on, so he starts berating the two for not answering back when they were both in there the entire time. Nonetheless, Elda makes up the perfect excuse by claiming that they might not have heard him since they were busy trying out the brand new suits of armor she bought earlier this month, and that they were pretty far from the door. With no power to further question the motives of the princess being secluded in a very sussy room with Theo, Bro just says he sees and pulls up his glasses and informs her that the Majesty, her queen, has arrived. With the sussy turntables now turning again, Elba is visibly taken aback since this was a surprise visit from Ira, but Theo looks like he somewhat expected the timing of Ira, so he says nothing and plays along. The two are then quick to enter the massive dining hall to join the feast made specifically for the arrival of a nobleman, where it's revealed that even Reinhardt was surprised at Ira personally visiting their household. Apparently a big feast isn't something fit for the queen of the realm, but somehow the evil Queen Ira doesn't mind not being appropriately welcomed, but she's quick to smile and tells everyone not to worry since she's enjoying dinner very much. Fast forward some more cringe small talk, and anxious Reinhardt eagerly asks Ira why she has decided to arrive unannounced, since this is something she's never done before. After picking up a glass of happy times, Ira continues on with her clearly peaceful acting and straight up tells Reinhardt that she's here to personally congratulate him for basically becoming the next prime minister of the kingdom. However, Ira doesn't stop there and ends up dropping the bomb on the family of Reinhardt by informing them that she plans on making Richard, the youngest in their family, her future successor of the throne. Totally confused as to what just unraveled, a shocked Reinhardt gets up and asks the queen why she thinks his son is the ideal successor to her throne. At the same time, our boy Theo somewhat seems amused, even though this was his all along, but he didn't expect Ira to act so quickly, even if this meant the Lyons family will always have her back no matter what. Suddenly, as Theo is stuck trying to big brain some more chess moves 69 steps in advance like Magnus, he gets ganked by a towering Elda ordering him to explain everything, since he didn't spill the beans to her, except he spilt the milk instead. Luckily, he gets saved right in time before he could experience the wrath of Elda, all thanks to Ira, who quickly pulls him privately away, where the two begin talking about their plans. As Theo continues to go over his master plan with Ira, he's super ecstatic knowing that he could get her into the academy faster at this rate, so his life and Ira's will finally be spared. At the same time, Ira looks very happy as well, knowing full well that if anything happened to her, then the Lioness family will be at fault. However, as Theo bids farewell to the queen, we learn that Ira actually has a sister we haven't met yet, and it seems like Theo wants to loosen up his relationship with her, but I don't know if he meant it literally. Nevertheless, with Theo saying goodnight to the sussy queen, Ira attempts to do some anime style, hinting that she wants our boy's company for the night. Unfortunately for her though, she doesn't know most guys never get the hint until years later when it's too late, and such is the case with Theo, so she ends up being a Stacy and straight up tells him that she wants him to stay the night. As such, the queen flashes some somewhat mid-bakeries at Theo and orders him to go with her to protect her during the night like a simping white knight with a fedora, to which Bro reluctantly agrees to. Fast forward half an hour later, Theo finds himself literally watching over Ira, but to his surprise, she actually fell asleep and the Fire Nation never attacked other than him being bombarded by the snoring nation coming from the Sleeping Beauty. However, with Theo's duty technically fulfilled, Bro decides to get up and dip to play some Valor in his own quarters, but then his face disappears when he notices Ira's attire to be partially invisible. As such, he stops in his tracks as he accidentally ganks himself with a surprise gift down below his armor. So now it seems like the SUSSY Nation is about to invade Theo's brain after it helped a rebellion rise up seconds before. To make matters worse, his dragon fruit fully levels up to max level when Ira flipped over to his side, causing a crazy buildup of energy to max out his SUSSY powers as he can fully see Ira's pyramids poke out. Suddenly, Ira wakes up and catches our boy in 4K, busy absolutely staring her down like he found herself alone in the ghetto, with no rules stopping him from ruling in the hood. Luckily for Theo, though, this silence allows for Ira to not think straight since she just basically woke up from a killer nap, not realizing that this scenario is always from very sussy anime style of culture. Somehow, though, the evil queen ends up on her knees, and upon looking up, she finally notices the knight trying to break free from Theo's diamond pants, so the first thing she asks if it's her fault his dragon has risen up from the ashes. Unsure of what to say, our boy randomly gains a lisp and mumbles like he's prime Mike Tyson, making up the excuse that a surprise night attack happens often to the male nation, so he's pretty big brain after all. With Theo speaking facts, he finds himself in an even more awkward situation since it looks like he might have accidentally transformed the evil queen into a super curious queen, as she ends up reaching to tame his dragon named Gigantomachia. Mere seconds later, Ira unwraps the gift from Theo with no hesitation at all, where she even flashes a very happy smile after seeing an anime-style cheesy hot dog ready to pop and charge for the second time ever. Regardless, with the sussy turntables turning, Theo's brain gets jammed as he never expected to check this off in his 2024 bingo card, where Her Highness is actually stooping down to his level to help out the dragon in front of her. After noticing that Theo looks absolutely shocked at what's happening, Ira orders our bro to stop trying to get out of this situation, since this is apparently his very deserved reward for helping convince the lioness family to join their cause. With Ira now attacking the base of his Mount Dragon using watermouth breathing technique, Theo winces as he tries his best to make sure his dragon doesn't attack back, but Bro keeps trying to get out of this very perfect situation. Sure enough, Theo shuts up when Ira begins using her own domain expansion faster and stronger into Theo's dragon sword, thanking JJK simultaneously for her powers, but we all know things are getting real when the background starts showing Asian letters with speed being drawn in. Suddenly, Ira stops midway through her invasion when she realizes she needs to level up to proceed destroying the Skyrim dragon, claiming that it somehow even got bigger than when they first started the duel, with the queen stopping for a second to get some air for more destruction. Thea pulls out the most dumb move ever, telling Ira that she can finally stop since he's been rewarded well enough for completing their quest. Luckily for our boy, though, the queen slaps him silly and asks what the heck he's talking about since she hasn't even started it, giving him the proper reward for helping her rule the kingdom with an iron fist. Of course, Theo again tries to stop her from mounting the legendary white dragon, so Ira finally has enough and shushes him since this girl needs Theo to stop talking to help her do her job properly. She then informs him that if he doesn't behave properly, she's going to expose him to the kingdom. But not wanting to get outed for doing extremely sussy among us things with the royal family, Ro finally stops yapping and allows Ira to proceed, but she notices that she's feeling extremely different than normal, as she finds the bakery leaking below. Now unsure of what to do and a bit embarrassed that her water fountain is already leaking, Ira ends up doing an Olympic dismount as great as Sunny Lee, scoring a bunch of 10s and diverts attention by attacking Theo's ready-to-go crazy bread from Little Caesars. Regardless, Theo keeps getting rewarded for another couple minutes until Ira slows down conquering his hill because she began getting in her own head, thinking that the atmosphere is pretty awkward, so she needs to level up her game. As such, Ira unleashes her most powerful attack to date, which she personally calls the no reaction but all-in jutsu, causing Mount Theo to finally erupt straight into the royal family's bloodline. After his milk lava finished flowing, Bro suddenly started freaking out since this was never something that was supposed to be part of the novel, so our boy apologized profusely for overstepping some boundaries. However, the usual talkative Ira doesn't say anything. Instead, she stares into Theo's soul and proceeds to not break eye contact while finishing the cup of reincarnated milk that was personally gifted to her. At this point, Theo finally let loose and decided to say YOLO, so he ends up deciding to reward the queen after all that she's given him. So this time, it's his turn to show her some appreciation that she never got from her own father. Nevertheless, Theo goes my hero on Aira, pulling out his skills he learned from the academy thanks to his homies Mineta and Denki, paving the way for all the wannabe SUSSY heroes out there. Eventually, Theo's masterful craftsmanship rivals the great master swordsmith Hotaru from Demon Slayer, allowing him to once again show Aira what's it like to enter and experience the SUSSY dimension as he skillfully sends her flying to the climax of the mountain. Nonetheless, Aira almost passes out during their 1-versus-1 duel, even though our boy hasn't even brought out his Charmander to go out and play, so we all know she's having a great time, especially if Hard Eyes come into play. Suddenly, as Theo was about to get up and leave the queen some space after she starfished for a while without moving, she shocks our boy by grabbing onto his sleeve and tells him he can finally bring out his dragon to enter the queen's private residence. Now, unable to believe his luck because he never thought he would ever live to see this day, he freezes for a minute until Aira urges him to hurry up and reassures him that it's totally fine and it's not like she's gonna end his life tomorrow. And so Theo finally mans up and goes for the three-pointer, but as soon as he lined up to shoot, he stops his legendary dragon right at the gates of Queen Aira and refuses to break open the gates for the first time ever. Of course, Aira gets super frustrated that this dude can't even do his job properly after she's done all the foundation work to get Rice Cake destroyed. But Theo tells her that he can't do it because there's too many eyes here and this isn't the royal palace. Scared for his life as he doesn't want to get caught, especially at Elga's place, Bro tells the queen to wait another day, to which she reluctantly agrees to since they both are coming back home tomorrow. Regardless, Theo excuses himself when she refused to take his hand to get back up, only for him to walk away looking like he did this dumb boy act as part of his master plan to survive this world. Fast forward the next morning, both Aira and Theo got up early to make their journey back home, but only Reinhardt and the servants went to bid farewell to the two with Elga nowhere to be found. As such, Reinhardt attempts to stall for a few more minutes in hopes that his daughter would properly say goodbye to the queen, but she still doesn't show up, so it looks like Reinhardt is going to give a big beating to someone right after Aira leaves. Meanwhile, an expressionless Theo looks on, busy calculating the next move to ensure his survival percentage is stuck at 100%, but mumbles to himself how easy it was to get the unstoppable Reinhardt to become a puppy overnight. Nonetheless, the two depart House Lioness together, with Theo once again amused that Aira is changing much faster than expected since she's even willing to explore outside the city by herself, and on top of that, on horseback without a carriage. Anyways, without a moment to waste, the two find themselves arriving at Eric Castle to take a break due to the blistering heat, just an hour shy away from the royal palace. However, shortly after getting through the castle gates, they hear screams near the market where an orc is found busy clapping some royal guards with ease. With all the commotion surrounding the orc, the two make their way to the front, but Theo is a little bit surprised that the reason why the orc is all riled up is because he wants rights, even though this one is dumber than the island boys. Regardless, the townsfolk can only watch on as Gogor, the orc, continues to take out a guard one after the other, whilst calling all humans weak, so he's basically the reverse Armin from Attack on Titan before he became a Titan. Suddenly, some life force from one of the gourds gets slapped onto Aira's face and spills onto her robe, but much to our boy's surprise, she doesn't even care and acts like she isn't some kind of bratty queen. As such, Theo turns on Mega Simp mode to get revenge for spilling some blood on the queen, so he removes his cloak that was covering his face and proceeds to confront Gogor. Unfortunately for Theo, this simp forgot that he is literally a third of Gogor's size, so upon the orc closing the gap between them, Bro probably realized he should have used his brain first before getting in the way of the monster. However, since Gogor's IQ is lower than room temperature, his anger subsides when Theo falls on his knees and yells at him that he can make his wishes come true. But as he yaps on and on about all the things he can make happen for him, Gogor ends up getting bored while scrolling Instagram, so he takes it upon himself to relieve his boredness by attacking Theo for not explaining how he's going to make his wishes come true. With Gogor on the offensive, the crowd behind them can be heard audibly gasping louder than Riley Reid, causing some of the townsfolk to yell for a wizard to come save our boy since it looks like he's about to turn into a can of Campbell's soup. Suddenly, Gogor flies into the sky like my hopes and dreams slipping away, with the blue aura masking his entire body, causing him to be unable to move as he's stuck frozen in midair. With the townsfolk prayers answered and with Theo getting to live another day, the crowd erupts in cheers louder than a Taylor Swift concert, but Aira makes her way beside our boy with her hood still covering her true identity to make sure Theo is okay. Nevertheless, it's revealed that Ira is actually the Empire's third most powerful wizard, and her identity accidentally gets revealed when she starts arguing with Theo on whether or not she should release Gogor after he went on a rampage against the royal guards. Eventually, Gogor is set free when the queen reluctantly lets him go after Theo makes the point that orcs like him never ever attacks human in this world unless someone else ordered them to attack due to their low intelligence levels. As such, Theo walks up to Gogor only to find him in fetal position looking absolutely terrified due to him never witnessing the powers of a wizard before, but Bro just tells him that it's okay since he believes it's worth saving Gogor. After an hour of 1-versus-1 duels with Gogor in the non-sussy but more verbal way, the two figure out that the reason Gogor actually acted out is because he hasn't been paid as a castle builder for almost 2 years, causing Ira to be absolutely furious. Suddenly, the now pacified Gogor looks mortified while pointing behind both Theo and Ira, blurting out that Theo has the exact same smell as some random citizen behind them. Unsure of what Gogor is talking about, the two look behind them only for them to see the entire townsfolk up in arms, busy chasing some random girl in a white sussy outfit. With fire and pitchforks ready to go, the crowd of people continue to run after her, yelling out for everyone to catch the girl running away since she's apparently supposed to be some kind of witch. As the girl runs and floats through the air like she's running away from the orange man trying to be the president of the United States, it's revealed that she has a devil's tail in the shape of a heart. Sure enough, Theo instantly takes action by acting like he accidentally tripped her upon seeing that the girl is basically wearing invisible pants that everyone can see, so it looks like the Sussy Nation has arrived once again. Upon further investigation, Theo discovers that the girl is actually an imp, but before he can do anything else, the crowd catches up and yells at him to please get away from her since she could be very dangerous. However, Theo tries to stop the townspeople from capturing her, but they refuse and claims that for years this imp has pretended to be a nun and manipulated everyone around her into believing her, so she needs to pay for her crimes. Upon hearing all the charges against her, the fiery imp claps back and yells at them that there's nothing wrong in being an imp since it's 2024 and you can even be an Autobots transformer if you would like. However, the townspeople don't care and grab her, but upon Theo seeing some legendary glazed buns on the imp, he tries his best to intervene again. Regardless, we learn that the imp's name is Marmor, and upon learning what the people are about to do to her, Ira suddenly gets happy since this is her first time seeing an imp in person, and even better, her first time seeing one get burnt like fried chicken. But as she joyfully tells Theo that this week has been amazing due to all the firsts she's experiencing, like the first time getting rice cake destroyed, Bro gets serious since he knows that's going to happen to her too if he doesn't succeed in his master plan. As such, Bro decides to hand the entire crowd 12 gold pieces in exchange for Marmor, which is exactly equivalent to 12 mythical fruits on blocks fruits, causing all of them to gawk in awe of the treasure pile. The homies then quickly start running away with the 12 gold pieces while shouting at Ira and Theo they can't take their word back, unable to believe they would actually hand over this much for a random person they have never even met before. Nonetheless, the transaction is complete, allowing Marmor to be finally free of the sticky situation she was stuck in, but it looks like something else will get super sticky soon as a dark aura begins to surround her, while she complains it's not funny to buy someone's freedom. Meanwhile, Ira looks super tired due to all the yapping today, so she places her hood back on and tells Theo it's time to head back home since she still has to do a rank 5 stack later with her friends. Theo then instructs Marmor to follow them to a carriage, so she gets suspicious of the two, but upon hearing Theo call Ira her name out loud, Marmor begins to sweat profusely as she pieces everything together, finally realizing this could be the Queen of the Kingdom. Upon arriving within the castle walls, Marmor freaks out when her suspicions that this is the real Ira she's always heard rumors about were proven to be correct, so now she's scared she's actually meeting a real witch that can turn her into a wand anytime. But as she continually paces around the room, totally freaked out, Theo sighs and orders her to simmer down like my Korean fried chicken, telling her to not worry since Her Majesty doesn't need a wand to conjure up spells. She then calms down for like 2 seconds, but then occurred to her, if she's not here to be turned into a wand, then the rumors must be true that the rich people inside the castle walls use people like her to be a training dummy for rice cake destroying. Luckily for her though, as she thinks of all the ways all the golf holes will get a hole in one, she gets snapped back to reality when Theo asks if she was the one that paid off the orc to cause the scene from earlier. Bro then closes the gap between them, causing Marmor to turn more red than my teammates when they throw a round 4 versus 1, thinking that the rumors are about to be fulfilled, so she braces for the sussy impact, not knowing how things are done. However, to her surprise, Bro whips out a labor laws book and asks her if she could help with it since it seems like she knows a lot of things about rights and laws within this kingdom. Upon figuring out that Theo isn't trying to use his Taurus to make sure she's not a Virgo anymore, Her tail rises up and informs our boy that of course she can help since she's quite knowledgeable in this field. But then her smile is quickly wiped off her face when she starts smelling something familiar, so she begins sniffing closer like a dog, only to discover that it's Theo that smells exactly like her. It's then revealed that Marmor got very close to confirm that it is indeed Theo smelling like her species. So now we find out that Theo actually has demon blood within him, but Marmor refuses to say anything, trying to make sure she isn't actually messing up. Eventually, she starts poking in the air and pulls up her status window, so she asks if he can do the same since she tells him he's half-demon, causing Theo to have a shocking revelation that could change his entire destiny. With the turntables now turning thanks to Marmor confirming some suspicions he had from long ago, he realizes if he finds a way to unlock the same status window that all the other half-demons have, then he can literally alter the entire story. As such, Bro turns to Marmor and asks for help in unlocking his powers since he doesn't know how to do it, and luckily for him, Marmor is eager to help another half-demon and informs him that it's a form of magic. She then explains that it's actually pretty simple to do, and all he has to do is copy exactly what she's doing, then he can unlock it in literally under 30 seconds. After kneeling down and copying exactly what Marmor is doing, Bro starts reciting some words from the Bible, which totally makes sense by the way, causing a magic circle to open up underneath them. Marmor then orders him to slowly open his eyes, and upon doing so, Theo is able to see a blue status window telling him it's sealed due to cyanide. Now that Theo has unlocked his status window, Bro starts having flashbacks of all the crazy things he could do with his newfound powers if he cultivates it, but first things first, he needs to find a special powder called manganite to buff his abilities to the next level. Luckily for him though, he knew exactly where to go and who to find to grab the mysterious ingredient, since Theo still remembers the entirety of the novel this world was based on, proving to all of us that being a nerd pays off sometimes. Regardless, after finding his way through the hood of the Capitol, Theo is 100% sure he's arrived at the correct area, and after telling the mysterious redhead the special passcode, the door magically opens with no one behind it. Instead, Bro finds himself greeted by the mysterious redhead who turns out to be harnessing some large puppies from this fantasy world already sitting down across the room, telling our boy to take a seat since not a lot of people are aware of their after-hours program. However, right before he could sit down, the seat vanishes into thin air and somehow it gets replaced by a cup of tea, so Theo refuses to drink it as he realizes this redhead is actually the assassin they call the Deathstalker. Nevertheless, Theo takes off his hood to reveal his identity to make it square between the two, where he then instantly gets down to business as those who show up in front of the Deathstalker either turn dead or are there to make sure someone disappears from the world. However, our boy is a bit different type of customer today, so he asks to save someone instead of destroying them as he's searching for the antidote for manhwa. Upon hearing that this sussy-looking boy isn't there to place a hit on someone, the Deathstalker gets up with a disappointed face and begins to explain to Theo that she does not do anything in relation to saving any life, and more importantly, reveals the fact that manhwa wasn't created to be a poison. Nevertheless, our boy already knew that the Deathstalker would be a tough character to deal with, but he has something up his sleeve, so his face disappears again before offering the opportunity for the Deathstalker to rebuild her fallen house. Instantly, the Deathstalker's face goes pale when Theo continues on, where we discover that her real name is actually Lady Kalila Skull, who happens to be the eldest daughter of a former baron. Initially, when Theo revealed his identity, Kalila didn't even budge even though she knew who Theo was, but now that the turntables have turned this time, Theo is the one who knows who she is, although she claims that there is no way someone would have figured out her past. So now that the jig is up with her true identity, she uses her innocent puppies as a defensive barrier while showcasing some tree trunks like Chun-Li to get some heat off her, but our boy just wants the manhwa antidote from Lady Kalila and nothing else. And just like that, the redhead takes the deal and goes to the back of her shop to prepare for the creation of a manhwa antidote, where she informs Theo that although it's quite simple to create, it still takes a bit of time to produce. Fast forward a half hour later, Kalila places the potion right in front of Theo and claims that it's done. So Bro actually drinks it without thinking twice, even though her face looked very sussy at the moment. Unfortunately, just when he thought there was no way Kalila would be dumb enough to put something in the potion, Bro begins feeling like the whole world is about to drop him into the pits of hell, and the last thing he sees is Kalila's dumped truck before he passes out. Soon after, our boy wakes up from a crazy dream and finds himself on a nice white bed, and to his right was Kalila waiting for him to wake up, causing Theo to ask what the heck she did to him as he shouldn't have exhibited any side effects. As such, Kalila explains that she did actually give him the correct formula, but she did some tinkering to it in case he wasn't going to drink it on the spot, and if he didn't, then it would have meant he didn't trust her, which would have landed him a ticket straight to the underground. So now that she knows Bro fully trusted her the entire time, Kalila transformed into Lady SUSSY by turning most of her armor invisible right in front of Theo, where she then tells him that this is his reward for trusting the legendary Deathstalker that has sent over 1,000 life forces to zero. Now, you know how the saying goes, you never stick your attack helicopter inside crazy, but it looks like our boy is about to regret that decision as he finds his banana tree plantation fully up while Lady SUSSY slowly invades his personal space. Bro then continues to say nothing as he watches Kalila place her hands on his legendary Blue Eyes white dragon, so I guess the SUSSY Nation already successfully invaded his brain. Regardless, a few seconds after his behemoth was unleashed back into this cultured world, his dragon fruit awakened, causing Kalila to force Theo into a very awkward yet fulfilling position on his big back where his face disappears yet again, signaling the start of a rice cake duel. Next thing he knows, our boy finds himself drinking very sweet juice, so he was pleasantly surprised at the taste, and he doesn't mind repeating his Slurpee drinking actions for half an hour to make sure their duel is properly prepared. Eventually, the two formidable forces wrap up their preparations for their 1-versus-1 SUSSY duel, leaving Kalila feeling more sensitive than usual, causing her to order Theo to attack using his Blue Eyes white dragon. Nonetheless, whenever Theo hears a noble lady ask for him to go on an offensive, he always accepts their call and readies his dream horse for action, and today is no different than the others. So he vows to Kalila that he will not hold back any longer. One blink later, everything became invisible on both the warriors, where we find our boy already closing the gap between the Deathstalker, ready to send her to the SUSSY dimension with one simple trick. But first, he tells her to chill since there's no need to be in such a rush. Bro then stops his horse midway through the race to Kalila's final lap, where he instead opts for a detour where he teaches the SUSSY lady a lesson by making sure her water fountain is leaking at max capacity by going for her double D batteries. Slowly but surely, Theo began draining the batteries of Skull, causing loud noises to populate the room and the area surrounding the hood, where Kalila ends up realizing that the rumors of why the queen keeps him around must be true. However, Theo says nothing throughout the entire ordeal, until he finally piped up after witnessing the Deathstalker give the look of utter defeat. So upon seeing the golden face, he instantly thrashes his opponent onto the nearby bed, ready for his dragon behemoth to come out for phase 2. With Theo's prey now stuck in a position they never expected to be in, Bro begins advising her to not talk about the queen in his presence whilst he readies his captain of a horse to go galloping into the fresh vineyard in front of him. Mere seconds later, our previous thumbnails appeared, so you guys already know we never clickbait around here as we always stay true to our roots, so make sure to subscribe. Anyways, with Theo's and Kalila's 1-versus-1 duel now underway, the only thing Lady SUSSY could do is hold on for her dear life, as she never expected the SUSSY Inquisition to take over her entire world, especially coming from some dude that looks like he ain't him. So now, unable to use most of her breathing techniques in the wake of a monstrous banana tree destroying everything in its way, Bro ends up snatching her arm like a cop and proceeds to level up his attacks even more. With our boy still only using less than 50% of his abilities to make sure he can keep his opponent alive long enough, he keeps on trucking like truck-kun until he inevitably learns from Kalila that him being half-demon means that his SUSSY powers are way stronger than any normal human. However, just when Kalila thought a mere compliment like calling our boy special would do her good, she ends up making a major mistake as Theo brings her closer to him, just so he can whisper to her that he would never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down. But before he's able to mutter the words, never gonna run around and desert you, he pushes past his 50% power limit straight to 69% power, causing a major boon to Kalila's treasure cove below. Turns out, the major boon was like two nucleons at the speed of light perfectly colliding against each other. Thus, Lady SUSSY was able to experience something only a few women in the world were able to, and that's reaching the climax of the mountain 10 times in 1 second. Eventually, Kalila actually passes out and enters the true SUSSY Baka dimension, as both her mind and body connection were separated with a single special Z move of a draconian dose spammer. But our boy just sat there with a faceless expression like a true menace. Regardless, after 5 seconds of watching to make sure he didn't accidentally send Kalila's life force straight to zero, the potion activated within him thanks to the rice cake duel, allowing for the magical status window to pop up again. But upon further investigation of the status window about him, he reads the fine print that informs him that he's the last remaining survivor of his fallen house, and surprisingly, his last name actually belongs to the former Demon King Angmar. With the revelation that his bloodline belongs to the Demon King, he freaks out and starts brainstorming how this could have happened, as something he must have done most likely changed the outcome of the story he now currently lives in. Now unsure of his true identity within this world, Theo is left dumbfounded, so the only thing he could do is stare directly into the mirror to try and figure things out, but still, Bro has no idea what is going on even after reading the entire novel more than once. Suddenly, with our boy stuck in deep thought, he snaps back to reality after hearing an unsuspecting knock appear on his door, and since it is already late at night, Bro decides to check it out totally expressionless, since what could go wrong at this hour? Upon opening the door, Bro ends up ganked by Elga, who slams the door shut behind her with no care at all, and the first thing she does is she slams her pointy finger against Theo's chest, whilst annoyingly asking him why our boy looks not so happy to see her. With Theo getting caught with his pants down against a very dangerous blondie, he tries to weasel out of this lose-lose scenario by claiming that he is always happy to see her, but every girl in the world can see the truth. As such, Elga berates him for spending all of his free time on work and orders him to be more free like my farts, informing Theo that a normal dude would go out of their way to see a girl he likes, especially if they are literally in the same palace. Nevertheless, with our boy failing to escape the barrage of hostility coming from Elga, Bro just sits there and takes it since there is no winning here, so when she asks him if he told any one of them rice cake destroying, he tells her the truth again. After hearing that her secret is still safe with Theo, she starts blushing for no reason and looks away like nothing ever happened, but all Theo can do is stare at the puppies, which accidentally sways in the air after every sudden movement. Eventually, after some awkward silence for the next few minutes, Elga decides to quickly shove a doll at Theo, and upon him catching it, she rushes out the room whilst shouting at him to make sure to take care of it since it's her clone. But right before she left the room, Elga mentions something about having to pack for tomorrow, so our boy ends up finding out that not only is Ira heading to the academy, but also his sneaky link Elga, as she's going to accompany her tomorrow. Nonetheless, with Elga finally out of the room, our boy sighs after only recently discovering that not only does he have to take care of one brat, but now he has to spend all his time looking after two of them. To make matters worse for our boy, just when he thought he could finally be left alone, the flat hills of Marmar appears out of nowhere and yells at him that it is time for some food, so she ends up barging in his room and forces him to eat. Now stuck with Marmar annoying him for the next hour or two, Bro faces defeat again and decides to chow down on the food she brought for him whilst busy wondering what his new talent called clairvoyance could do, as that usually means being able to see into the future. Regardless, Theo decides to activate it while in the middle of eating, and upon doing so, some kind of status window appeared on top of Marmar, but this time it looks like he can learn everything about someone else. And while Marmar happily devours the entire plate of food before her, she never gets notified that her status window has been opened, making our boy believe that he can use clairvoyance to his advantage if he plays his cards correctly. However, after learning that Marmar became an imp because she became a fallen fairy from her status window, she suddenly smashes her fork on the table and jumps up, angrily yelling at our boy that he has crossed a line because he keeps staring at her in a weird way. Luckily for our boy, though, he still has his big brain tendencies still, so he successfully makes an excuse by claiming that he was not even looking at her, but actually he was busy with his own status window, which she ends up believing. Now almost caught in the act, Bro took this slip up as a win, as it allowed for him to confirm that no one else knows that he is looking at their status window, so he needs to be careful when he does it, as it requires him to directly look at them. Fast forward to the next morning, we discover that the entire palace has woken up early to assemble near the gates, as they all are here to bid farewell to the queen and the princess, with both of them embarking on their long journey to the academy. Upon leaving the front gates, Ira swiftly turns around with no regret and makes direct eye contact with Reinhardt, where she then informs him that the kingdom is now under his care, officially making him Prime Minister Reinhardt from this day on. Nevertheless, Ira's royal servants bid farewell one by one, looking the happiest they have ever been, but our boy is busy thinking to himself that they should be thankful he got Ira to leave, since they would have been executed if not for him. Anyways, with Theo and the girls now ready to leave, they finish up all their goodbyes, including Elga, who gets lectured by her dad to make sure she serves the queen well, and when they finished yapping, Ira ends up summoning a large magical circle. Unfortunately for Marmar, though, Thea refuses to let her go with them for now, even though she really wanted to use a teleportation circle for the first time, since he needs her to observe the second party while they are out and about at the academy. One blink later, Ira activated her magical circle, which instantly sent them to the Holy Land, luckily still intact, where they are then all greeted by a bunch of people in white robes looking like they accidentally teleported to Sunday church. After being welcomed to the holy city of salt and light, we learn that this city is the only city in the entirety of the world that has remained neutral, so this is the only place where many royals and nobles go to attend an academy for warriors. Of course, with a bunch of rich and powerful people all gathered in one spot, the first thing Ira does is party it up with all the other elites, where she quickly becomes the star of the show due to all the Sims appearing out of nowhere. Elsewhere, we find Elga alone with our boy, busy ranting to him about how everyone drools over Ira even though she's equipped with a better bakery and even contains a way larger Sydney Sweeney special, claiming that they are only sucking up to her because she is the queen of Angmar. However, like a total Chad our boy is now, he says not a single word and instead takes this prime opportunity to stare directly at Elga while she is busy moping around, fully hoping she would not notice. Unfortunately, or should I say fortunately for our boy though, Elga catches him in 4K, causing her to call him out loud for staring at her sour watermelons for far too long, making it look like she is actually into that type of thing. But when our boy tries to outright deny everything, Elga refuses to believe him, so she ends up turning the sussy turntables around by abruptly showcasing her natural shake mountains she was born without in the open with no care in the world. Suddenly, with Theo's dark night rising due to what he is witnessing, he gets ganked with a new status window informing him that he has received 5 experience points for the job Lady Killer, where it also tells him that Elga is trying to make herself appeal to him. Now confused again as to why he is randomly gaining experience points right now, Bro ends up battling 2 worlds at once when Elga literally forces his hand and pushes it towards her, allowing Theo to experience the great pillars of Elga. He then receives another status window informing him that he gained another 5 experience points, making our boy realize that he is gaining XP whenever someone else feels sussy towards him, so eventually he will level up. But not wanting to jeopardize his ultimate plan to survive in this world, Bro reluctantly pulls away from the heavens he is touching, instantly causing Elba to scream at him that Ira only thinks of him as nothing more than a kid's toy. She then follows up and mentions how, unlike Ira, she will do everything in her power to make our boy stronger, since she can make him a man of House Lioness, causing our boy to freeze mid-hand retraction as he never expected this outcome. Bro then takes a second to think about the very enticing offer, but unfortunately for Elga, boy recently learned that he has the blood of the Demon King flowing within him, so he got bigger fish to fry now rather than stand side by side with the house. Nonetheless, with Theo doing his typical move of saying nothing the entire time while staying expressionless like a starfish, Elga puts back on her armored chestplate and proceeds to leave Theo in the dust to head back inside. But right before she stepped back into the banquet, she fiercely turned around to face our boy and tells him she is heading to bed and orders Theo to make some time for her tomorrow because there is somewhere she urgently needs to show him. With Ira now storming off into her room, our boy's dark night stopped rising and quickly disappeared back into its hole, but at least he gained another status window informing him that he gained a hopping 50 experience points for the job named Priest. Fast forward an hour later, we discover Theo back with Ira, who looks very disappointed since she has been looking for him the entire night, so our boy had to explain to her how he was busy attending to a drunk Elga. After hearing what Bro has been up to, the queen ends up questioning his loyalty, but before she could continue on, she changes subject and asks where the heck this so-called saintess is, since she should have shown herself by now.